Parking lots provide great shopping opportunities for thieves.
My purse is inside and the door's unlocked.
Leaving your car doors unlocked with valuables inside really makes their day. If you leave your purse, computer, or other valuable items in your vehicle, you might as well put a sign on top inviting thieves to take what they want.
Laptop tools and MP3 players and more. Help yourself. Yo, right!
You wouldn't be this obvious, would you? Remember, lock it or lose it.
Hi, I'm Judy Shepard-Missett, founder and CEO of Jazzercise. Please join us for our innovative workout series, Jazz Cardio.
3, 2. Okay, I call this regular City Council workshop to order. Let the records reflect that, let's see, Mr. Williams is absent currently. I think he's on campus, but he's not here. We can probably move right on to item number 1.
Thank you. This is a presentation of the Arts and Cultural Advisory Board Strategic Plan.
Mayor, Council, I'm Tara Combs, and I am the staff liaison for the Surprise Arts and Cultural Advisory Board. For the past year and a half, the board has worked very hard on their strategic plan, and I'm proud to introduce tonight the chair of the board, Sandy Staley, who will present the plan to you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. I'm very pleased to be here today to present the strategic plan for your approval. I have supporting me here today the entire Arts and Cultural Board, and I'd like to introduce them to you. Susan DeYoung, Margaret Liu, Elise Hayden, Kathy Morgan, Loretta Warner, and Fred Ramsey. I'd also like to take the opportunity at this time to thank our city staff liaisons for their exceptional work in helping us to put this plan together. We would not be here today without their hard work. The Arts and Cultural Board began to put together a strategic plan, and we looked at the plan that existed from 2004 and decided that we really needed a fresh start. It was an old plan. There have been significant changes, both economically and to the city in general. And so that's what we are presenting to you. Consistent with this board's mission and purpose, we have developed a plan for the promotion and expansion of the arts and culture within the city that is based on 5 key areas. Those areas include partnerships, advocacy and outreach, events and activities, public art, and funding mechanisms. And I will talk about each of those items as we go through the report that you have in front of you. I will spend a brief amount of time talking about the process that we use, because I think it's important that we all have a baseline understanding of that process. Since this board serves in an advisory role to council on issues relating to public art and the development of cultural opportunities, our planning sessions sought to develop a strategy to promote art and culture within the city. We looked at a visioning process, and that visioning process was meant to define art and culture. As I said before, we started with the 2004 plan, but we needed to make a major overhaul. We want the city to be a place where people come to embrace the arts and the culture. And we want to recognize at the same time the arts in the entire West Valley, because there's some real partnership opportunities that exist there. In terms of the process, we followed a standard SWOT analysis. So we looked at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And as a result of that, it led to the 5 key areas that I talked about. When we looked at strengths, we determined that one of the greatest strengths that we have is the growing and diverse population in the city, and we need to take advantage of that. Another strength was the support of City Council, and that's recognized by the funding that was granted in the last budget cycle. We also have a wonderful stadium facility that can be used for the hosting of arts and cultural events. On the weaknesses, there's a lack of funding. This was the first year in several years that we had any funding allocated to us. And we do require a permanent funding source. There's also a lack of museums. We all know that it was a tragic event that we lost both the West Valley Art Museum and the Heard Museum. And we have limited performing arts facilities. And that was a huge loss when we lost the West Valley Arts Museum, because they did have performing facilities within that museum that this arts board actually used for events in the past. The opportunities that we have are partnerships with existing arts and cultural entities, and you've seen some of that come before you this year with the WHAM, the What's Happening Arts Movement, which was granted monies from the Tourism Board, working with this arts board to host an arts festival scheduled for next year. There's also the West Valley Arts Council, who we are partnering with and have a tentative agreement with them, subject to the contracting terms, to start hanging some art in City Hall. And that was made possible also by the funding that you provided in this budget cycle, which will allow us to purchase a hanging system for the arts. Many of the city's strengths that I reviewed, the population, your support, and the stadium, are also viewed as opportunities to use in the future. On the threat side, there's the national and economic climate, and I don't think I need to speak much about the economic climate. But something you may not know is that the state has significantly cut its funding to the arts. Arizona now ranks 50th of all states in its funding of the arts. We spend less than 7 cents per capita on the arts. The political climate, and we also, as we look to develop our arts in the city, are competing with well-established arts and cultural events in other cities. I think we're all familiar with the Arts Festival in Litchfield, in Tempe, Cave Creek, Carefree, Wickenburg. So there are a lot of arts events that go on. The arts education, I would just say, it's essential to well-rounded development, and it should not be considered an unnecessary frill, because it is not. Arts are economic drivers. Within the state of Arizona, there are more than 50,000 people who are employed in some capacity in the area of the arts, contributing more than $500 million in revenue. So those are some fairly significant numbers. So moving specifically to the strategic plan, we have set up goals and objectives. And starting with partnerships, our goal is to develop long-term relationships in support of strong arts and cultural presence in the city. And we have set out 4 objectives to achieve that. We're looking for areas where there's alignment with other arts and cultural organizations. And to that event, this Arts Board has already participated in an arts information exchange breakfast forum among the West Valley cities, which was, the first one was hosted by Goodyear. The next one will be hosted in Peoria. And following that, Surprise will host the next one. We are looking to network with existing art organizations. We need to identify all the key stakeholders for art and cultural support and form alliances to specifically leverage areas of expertise. On events and activities, we need to promote, our goal is to promote arts and cultural events within the city of Surprise. So as part of this plan's objectives, we would identify existing events and their sponsors. For example, the city hosts Second Sundays, and many of those are, in fact, arts events with jazz groups, folk groups, bluegrass music, dance music, and we are hoping for the next season to expand that. So you see, as part of this plan, looking for ways to integrate or package events. So last year there was a Shakespearean troupe that came out. We might couple that with some folks from the Renaissance Festival to come out and do some juggling and jester types of events. We might look at a poetry reading, which also couples an artist that might have an exhibition with themes from poetry. So there is no end to what it is that we might do in terms of packaging. It's just how creative we can all be to get there. On outreach and advocacy, we would encourage arts and cultural growth in the community. So you saw in the budget request that we put forth to you a request for some money for grants to help the operating expenses of existing 501c3 charitable organizations within the city. They are all struggling. There is not an arts organization that isn't struggling now. Even the Phoenix Opera Company and the Symphony have been running in the red for the past few years. So for our arts organizations now, it is about sustainability, and we need to encourage that. We need to make sure that the public is aware of arts and culture within the city through education, communication, and marketing strategies. And we have to engage them as a partner in arts and cultural advocacy. We need to be promoting Surprise as a place that's attractive for artists to work, display, and perform. What kind of space might the city have that is not utilized or underutilized where we could encourage artists to take root and create our own artist center like you see in so many other cities? We also ask for grants for performing artists. And this is something that is not new to this board. We did it in the past. We had chamber music concerts from the Symphony of the Southwest and from the West Valley Symphony. We had ballet performances. We had opera performances. We had educational programs for children. So the funding for that is essential because these arts programs cannot perform otherwise. And I don't know how many of you are aware in the outreach that we have a nice publication, not we, the board, but there is something called Arizona Avenues. And Arizona Avenues is the West Valley official visitor's guide, and we need to make sure that we're taking advantage of this as well, so that our arts events and cultural events are published in here, and that Surprise is fairly represented in here as well. It's a really good publication. And finally, we look at public art. Public art is something that probably most of you are familiar with, because when this board first started, its primary emphasis, even though its mission was broader, its primary emphasis was always on the public art. So in the package you have in front of you, you see a lot of the pictures of the public art that exists throughout the city. But there's still plenty of space, including within City Hall itself, for public art. And there's also places where art events can be hosted. And so we need to develop a list with the help of the city of all the space that might be available for both hanging art and entertainment, performing art. We do have a policy in place that was approved by council for the hanging of art in city space that was approved last year. What we do not have is a mechanism to pay for people to hang the art. So, the West Valley Arts Council is looking at that in terms of agreeing to hang the art, but we do not have a means to remunerate them. And finally, there's the funding mechanisms. We used to have a 1% fee that was levied on all public buildings. And understandably, when we started the severe economic turndown, the monies that we had from that funding was pulled back to the city, and the policy was suspended. And of course, there's no public buildings being built now in any event. So we need to find sources of funding that could be used in support of arts and culture in the city. And our objective, we've laid out several potential funding sources. One is to establish a per capita amount as an annual line item in the general fund. This year, the money that was allocated to us, just for your reference, comes out on a per capita basis to about 27 cents. We need an ability to apply for grants. A lot of grant money is available, but we do not have the opportunity realistically to apply for the grants because a lot of it is 30 or 60-day money. And by the time we would go through the administrative process of getting approval to apply for the grant on the front end, the money is gone and we don't have enough time to work that issue. So we need to think about a process that might work within the city to do that. We need to think about reinstating the 1% set aside for capital-funded public buildings and/or an allocation of a percentage of sales tax collected. That is not unusual. Cities like Mesa do that to fund their arts projects. Another potential is the collection of fees so that when the city hosts events at which there's vendors and there are booth fees, a percentage of those booth fees might be considered as funding for the Arts Board. That is basically the gist of our plan, and I would be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much for that presentation. We appreciate it and appreciate all of the work that the entire board does. We know that you're very engaged and committed to the community, and we all regret the fact that the economy is such that you are so limited in what you can do at this point, because there are many great things to do here in Surprise. I had a question about showup.com. Are you familiar with showup.com? It's a place on the internet that features events that are taking place in the greater Phoenix area. And I was wondering if we are participating in that when we have arts or cultural events, if we're going and listing our events on showup.com. But I know a lot of people go there to see what's happening in the valley this weekend, and then they'll be offered a menu of opportunities. So maybe we can look into that. Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a couple of comments. One, I'm showing that there is a current budget for the hanging program.
Yes, it is within the funding that we requested that you granted to us this year.
Okay.
So in the $32,500 that you allocated, $2,500 was specifically for the hanging system.
How much?
$2,500.
No, that's not the number I got. I got $7,500.
No.
$500 for equipment and $5,000 for operational supplies. So that's in the budget line item right now. So You were saying the West Valley could do this, but there was no funding mechanism for it?
No funding mechanism to pay the West Valley Arts Council for its work in hanging the system.
I think you got the budget.
Okay.
We were waiting for a plan, and now we have a plan. I think the plan is really good. This is just me speaking. The only area that I have an issue with is the leverage funding mechanisms. I don't think we're really ready to talk about that. That's me. I think that it's going to have to be talked about in the next budget cycle as to if we're going to do anything regarding per capita or what was your other, reinstate the 1 cent. These are big issues.
Yes, I would just note that those are objectives. Those are objectives under the goal.
Yeah,
and I think we would have been remiss had we not put in a permanent funding mechanism. It doesn't mean as an objective that you're funding it.
Right. But I like the rest of your plan. There's a lot of cooperation, partnerships, leveraging. I think that's great, and I think that's getting creative. I think that's what an arts board is all about, is getting creative. How to do things with no resources. You know what I'm saying? Because the rest of our boards and commissions, except for the tourism board, and they got funded through the hotels. There is no funding for any of the other commissions. So I just want to bring that up. We as a council have to decide. There's a lot of things we got to decide as to how the boards and commissions are going to work. And you've come up with a good plan here. I don't know how many other boards and commissions are in the process of working on their plan, but it's good to see this, and I really appreciate all your work. So that's where I'm at. But I think we can approve or send this plan to the next council meeting and vote on it with some tweaks to it as far as the leveraging of what is it, funding mechanisms?
Yes.
Yeah. And but I think it's overall a very good plan. You got some very good people on your board, and you got an ex-board member that sits on the council, and he's a pretty good guy. And so I think I really appreciate all the work you've done on this, and I appreciate Tara guiding you through the process, and who else was involved? Was
Dana Gar.
Dana, yeah, Dana. So I appreciate all their work, and so those are my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Alton.
Yes, thank you. Senator, you did a great job in the presentation. Board, you did an outstanding job in the preparation, and thank you to city staff. This brings out the same point, Mr. City Manager, is that we do definitely need a grants writer. This board has asked for your help, and if there is any way that you can lend the support, I mean, I couldn't write a grant if I had to. I had no idea how to do that. All right, but getting a professional grants writer working for the city that can bring in their salary as well as help all these individual boards and commissions would be outstanding. So if you could take that someplace and get back to us and let us know.
Can I ask one more comment? Are we going to? I think we need to move ahead on hanging the art in City Hall. We've been jawing that for quite some time. Let's pull the trigger. Can we bring it back to City Council? Is that what you want to do, Mark? Next City Council meeting, or what?
Mayor, if I may, just as Mark comes down and answered Councilmember Alton's question, yes, that'll be a conversation that we'll be discussing here in the next couple of weeks as we talk about numerous different positions in the city. I believe that's on the 6th that we have that discussion. We'll be talking about that. So thank you for bringing that up, and we'll be discussing that then.
Right, thank you.
With respect to the hanging process, staff has informed me that they did have an initial meeting with Ms. Richards from the West Valley Arts Council. And we were trying to coordinate with Public Works so that we could all work and get on the same page to initiate that. So a strategic plan would not need to be approved to initiate the hanging program. That's a standalone. Already been approved and we're ready to go. We just need to coordinate, and we need to get West Valley Art Council or partners to come in. And I think her challenge has been, how do you pay artists to bring art in? And I think that's the challenge that she's talking to you about.
Yeah. So do we have enough in the budget there, Mark? Do you think?
Yeah, it's sufficient. I think the way the budget is misquoted. I'll have to work with Scott McCarty, but the hanging program in itself was about a $2,500 expenditure. There was a $5,000 request in the budget for, I think, Arts and Surprise, or a program to be a part of the existing programs. Like, for instance, to give you a good example, Surprise Party, to bring an art component. It was called actually Affair with the Arts. So I think it's just mislabeled in there. But if you look at the budget the way it is, it articulates $7,500 for a project.
Okay.
But $2,500 is probably the max. Could be here or there, but a quote would actually take care of that.
And that would compensate West Valley Art Group?
No, it wouldn't compensate West Valley Arts Group, but it would pay for the hanging system.
Okay.
I have a couple more questions.
Certainly.
And that or comments. The art that is going to be displayed in City Hall, is that going to be for sale?
There was an issue, as I understand it, with us posting, or the West Valley Arts Council posting anything in City Hall, but there would be an acknowledgement there if somebody was interested in something that they could contact the West Valley Arts Council directly. But there would be no numbers,
No little
posted.
price or anything like that?
No.
Because that would be a very, very good source of some kind of a surcharge on top of the sale of the item that would come back to the Arts and Culture Board. The other thing is, you ask for nothing, you'll get nothing. And I admire that tenacity of having the funding mechanisms and so forth in place. The grants is certainly one item. And these are all objectives, and I think it would probably be of interest, maybe, to get it past Mr. Hall and get his approval. You might want to put in like the possibilities of, rather than establishing or collecting. But don't leave it there. I mean, we need to continue to always looking at funding mechanisms, and we also have to get out of the box. So many times government municipalities continue to do the same things over and over and over again. But sometimes we need, in this day and age, in this economic environment that we're in, we need to get out of the box and figure out some other ways in which to support arts and culture. You got the only game in town, and that's very, very important. I'll support you 100% in any endeavor, and I'm sure that this council will do the same.
Thank you.
We don't have any museums anymore. We need your success.
Right, and to go along with what Councilman Alton said, I'm wondering if, I think these displays would typically be changed out quarterly.
That's correct.
And that might be a great opportunity to create an event, an art walk. We'd probably want to get a beer and wine license for someplace on this area, maybe have some music. And then on that evening, or at that time, like Mr. Alton said, maybe have it posted who the artist is, how much the piece might be, is for sale, how much it costs to purchase it, and maybe create, as he was saying, create some opportunity there. I think that would be a great partnership with the city, bringing in some music and having that wine arts, walk. I know that the community university does a good job of displaying art over there, and so it could be, again, yet another partnership. So I'd be excited to see some ideas come forward on that. Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. Also, I want to compliment you on your support and input to the WHAM organization. And coming in front of the tourism board, you guys did a good job. And I think that's going to be a good annual event. We got to start, we got to crawl before we walk, obviously. But I really appreciated your support and input with WHAM regarding that. So,
thank you.
Mr. Endo.
As you know, I was on the Arts Board until recently, and it was such a pleasure to work with such dedicated citizens as you see before her. Great job, Sandy, I think, on the presentation. I also would like to echo the compliments to staff. They did extraordinary work, and they exhibited, Tara and Dana Garb before her, they exhibited the extraordinary patience as we sat in that room and debated all kinds of issues and tried to help us through the process. And and I really applaud them for what they did in helping the Arts Board reach this point. As far as the funding, I think if I understand correctly, as Sandy was explaining earlier, those funding mechanisms certainly are objectives that ought to be put in writing so that they can be examined as things move along, as well as look for alternative sources of funding. I too would echo looking hard at that grants capability, because I think there really are some tremendous options there, and there is a member of the Arts Board who knows about grants very well and knows the potential there, and we may be missing out on some great potential for some funding for us. The only other comment I'd want to make is Councilman Woodard initiated, and I've partnered with him. We've just started what ultimately we think will be a very comprehensive review of all boards and commissions, and I think many of the things we're talking about tonight will come into place as that comprehensive review takes place. So congratulations, Sandy. Good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. If I might just note on the issue of grants, we have 2 members of the Arts Board who have more than 20 years of experience in writing grants. So I'm sure that they would love to meet with the city manager to have a discussion about what we might be able to do.
Great. Cool. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. I think that completes our questions here. Appreciate, again, your presentation.
Item number 2, update to City Council on economic development activities.
Mayor Chirwit, members of City Council, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Very pleased to present you another update regarding economic development activities. I know Council is always anxious to hear what's going on in economic development, and we have all good news tonight, and happy to share that with you, and also exchanging some dialogue about our quest for additional family-oriented activities for the request of Councilman Biondo, and also talk about what Council is doing to support economic development, and those are many different ways Council helps us out. So I want to give you an update on the current projects that we've been talking about for the past year. I'm going to spend just a minute on family-oriented entertainment, because we do think there's a strong market for that. But the 2 things I'm really excited to talk about are all the collaborative efforts that ED staff has been working on with a number of our different partners over the past 6 months, and also to talk in more detail about the Council support, and it's a nice long list. So I'll use a kind of a Socratic method, because these are the questions that I get from residents from Council all the time. What's up with all those big industrial projects? I get that right away. Well, the good news is they're all moving forward, and they're open. That's the good part. Brentwood Industries, if you remember, was one of the first corporate relocations from Pennsylvania to the city of Surprise. 40 jobs, 100 construction jobs, a $10 million capital investment project. They're done. They're open. It's a beautiful building. There's an example of it there, so we're very pleased to have them in the city. Real Glass was the next one. Again, it was investment from Spain. They decided to locate their U.S. corporate headquarters in Surprise, as you know. 210 jobs, 200 construction jobs, $95 million capital investment, and their first phase is operational. The pictures that you see there aren't diagrams. That's the building. I mean, it's beautiful. It's great. A lot of very complicated equipment inside. They are bending glass. They're creating product, which is very exciting. The other thing I want to tell you is that, and this is really important, they submitted their plans for construction. 6 months later, they're open. 6 months. So if you remember, Council said, Jeff, in the development agreement, we commit to expedited review, get it done, let's go. And I said, we're going to do it. It's open. So it's one of those things where we can say, we can market, we're going to do it quick. We have proof now. And we can market that all day long, and it'll help me in marketing that expedited timeline. Proof's in the pudding. Next, of course, is Gestamp Solar Steel, another U.S. corporate headquarters, 300 jobs, 100 construction jobs, $50 million of direct foreign investment. Phase 1 is operational. Here's the exciting news. They're talking about Phase 2 already. And that's really good news for the city of Surprise. If you remember when I brought this forward, I said, yeah, 300 jobs for sure, but let's see where they go with the next phase, and we don't know. It depends on orders, where they're hitting the market hard, and they're ready for Phase 2, and we'll be bringing that forward in the not-too-distant future. Again, 6 months. Submit the plans, here they come. thing I want to stress to you is that we had Brentwood, we had Stamp, we had Rio all at the same time. Candidly, it stressed engineering, it stressed plan review, it stressed development services. We made a commitment. Council made that commitment. We got it done. We can market that all day long, but it was tough, and I'm really, really proud of all the staff in multiple departments about being able to get this done. Because if we made a promise and we didn't keep it, it would have been a challenge. So that's really exciting. Again, how is the AZ Tech Accelerator? Julie's here. Julie's doing a phenomenal job. She is doing what I think is taking it to the next level. Let's all be honest, about a year and a half ago, Tech Accelerator was kind of teetering on the balance. Maybe it's a go, maybe it's not. Julie came in and has done an outstanding job with it. I do want to brag on a couple of our tenants. Two of them are some of our newer tenants, first tenants, Chilled Solar, Athena, and MD24. Chilled Solar, which is the group that's using solar technology to create chilled air, they were very successful in doing the demonstration project at the Tech Accelerator, if you remember, and council supported that. Now they have a patent pending. If they go to production on this, and they stay in the city's prize, that's going to be great news for us. So they're moving along very well. Athena, our first company, is now going forward with the licensing of their products, both through FCC in Canada and the European Union. So they are truly an international company out of the Tech Accelerator. So that's good news too. And MD24 is growing so quickly that we're expecting early graduation. What I mean by that is, if you recall, we expect tenants to come in, grow, mature, and leave in a 3 to 5 year period, depending on how successful they are. They've only been there 2 years, and they may be ready to leave. As long as they stay in Surprise, that's a good thing. We'll just fill that space. So right now we have 14 tenants, 2 new energy firms, and we have the affiliate program. And quickly, the affiliate program means that they may not want space at the Tech Accelerator, but they want to take advantages of the conference room space, the collaboration, the printing services, and so on. So they're affiliate members associated with the Tech Accelerator. They may end up being in the Tech Accelerator, but for right now they're just affiliated, and that's it. But it's a way, again, for us to grow businesses in the city of Surprise. We do have 50-plus jobs now. If you remember the last time I gave you an update, we're at 40 jobs. Now we're up to 50. And the thing that's most interesting is 1 in 5 are engineering positions. So these aren't garden variety, low jobs. These are good-paying engineering jobs. The other thing, and this is what I talk about when Julie's taken it to the next level, is we're starting to do more and more partnership and collaboration. She recently met with the University of Advancing Technology. They're actually a college that's in Tempe, so they're not real close. But they have students that are getting degrees in engineering and computer sciences. So they're always looking for internship opportunities. They want to help new businesses, particularly startup companies. So they're creating a partnership with the Tech Accelerator to have those students in place at the Tech Accelerator. Free labor, free research for our tenants. At the same time, they're advancing their career. And also we have the SCORE mentorship program. Again, SCORE is a group of counselors for small businesses, retired executives. Some of these businesses are still struggling a little bit, need a little help, a little mentorship. We have people there on site from SCORE able to provide that mentorship to the building. So again, Julie's done just a fantastic job with the Tech Accelerator. I couldn't be more proud. And as Real Glass and the Stamp leave, she's already filling those spaces. So that's good stuff. Thanks, Julie. And I heard this, and this is Councilman Villanueva more than anything else, is let's not forget about small business. And we haven't. We're still doing really well in small business as well. Here's just an example of just a handful of, again, small businesses in the city. Burgers, golf carts, barbershop, hair salon, pizza. These folks, a lot of them are investing their livelihood to make small business a go. We do everything we can with a hands-on approach to help them get into these vacant spaces in the city. We hear a lot, geez, Jeff, what about all this vacant space? Small businesses are filling them up. Not as aggressively as we want them to, but they are over time. And the other thing, and this goes to Councilman Villanueva's point, is what are we doing to help them? We've launched recently a small business academy, and we've done it now for the past 6 months. We're providing training at all different levels to get small businesses to be successful, whether it's startup, whether it's just on marketing, whether it's accounting, and so on. And we do that in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. So we're doing everything we can to make that small business going. The other thing I hear a lot is retail still depressed? If you would have asked me that 2 months ago, I would have given you a different answer. Probably even 30 days ago, I would have given you a different answer. But it's coming back. It's the first time I'm able to say that now. And I'd like to say it's because of our hard work. It's not. We're just seeing the economy progress just a little bit. And here are some of the results. Sands Key, as you know, open for business, 30 jobs. Cactus Jocks, 15 jobs. Even Surprise Promenade. And the reason that is interesting, that's a spec shopping center, is that if someone's willing to build spec right now in retail, that's interesting to me. That means they're very confident that they're going to be able to tenant that building. Why would you make $1 million investment in a building if you're going to get tenants? And as you recall, that's at the corner of the city, right outside of the Southwest Railplex. They're going to serve Real Glass. They're going to serve Gestamp and so on. That is really good news for us to have retail in the part of the city we don't have it, in an area that really creates a true business park. So that's good news. And the other thing is we're seeing some of the bigger boys step up too. Walmart is under construction, as you know, and Ace Hardware also recently submitted plans. So again, retail is slowly but surely on the uptick. Okay. Is it upscale quality retail? No, not yet, but we're getting there. And these are good signs. And if more than anything else, what it's doing for us is it's creating construction sales tax for the city. And obviously, we need the revenue. So that's all good stuff. Medical, I've mentioned this before. We've had more than our fair share of medical in the region. The Santee project created 80 permanent jobs. Adelante is under construction right now, taking 3 buildings, combining them to 1. If you recall, they're doing the green screen treatment on Bell Road, which I know is important to council, and also the Surprise Center Medical, which will be just outside this building, will create 60 jobs as well. So we're doing really well in the medical field as well. And this one is recent. When are we going to update your website? It was dated. I'll be the first one to admit it. The good news is we launched it today. Okay? And I'm not going to take much credit about this at all. Ken Lynch and his team. You know how much we receive wonderful support from the communications and marketing department. They did this site for us. But it was tailor-made for us. And what we stressed on this one, and this is really important, is that it's site selection centric. Okay? And what I mean by that is we hear a lot about, how do we recruit businesses? Okay? The way recruitment is done these days is it's really done by site selectors. And I know the mayor knows this a lot. When XYZ Corporation wants to relocate or wants to expand or have a new point, they hire a site selector. Okay? Do they call us? No. Do they call council? No, they don't. They don't even call GPAC, anybody. They do their own behind-the-scenes looking. They're professional site selectors. What's the first thing they do? They go to the website. Okay? So we completely redid our website to make it as site selector friendly as possible. We have all the data. It's simple. I mean, that's a screenshot of it right there. We do have some videos in case people want to watch it, but everything that they need there is there. Major developments, the planning, the workforce study, transportation, sales tax rates. That's what they want. And it's all right there. So if you get a chance, take your time and take a look at the site. Provide Ken and I with some feedback. We're happy to tweak it, but we're really proud of it. And again, we appreciate the partnership internally in collaboration with our communications department. And then, are we getting all of our partners involved? Mayor's always saying, Jeff, partnership, collaboration. Councilman Alton is as well. What are we doing? A lot of partnership over the past 6 months. Naima Pierce really has been taking the lead on that for us. She's really good about creating those partnerships and trying to twist people's arms to help move us along. We did a couple things. The first is our small business resource brochure. I handed it out. You should have it at your places today. We heard some concern, and there were valid concerns about potentially duplication of services, particularly when it came to our education efforts. And we looked at the programs that the City of Surprise offers, the Chamber of Commerce offers, and also the Small Business Development Center. And we met and we talked about it, and we said, who's best at doing what part of our business education? And we decided that Surprise does better on the organic, startup, people just getting interested level, like the accelerator. That's why the experience there. So we'll handle those programs. The intermediate level, okay, how can I do better on marketing and so on, is best handled by the Chamber. So that's how they focus their programs. And then the Small Business Development Center is really to take it to the next level, and that's why they focus. So the use of this brochure is no matter what business you are, whether you're a startup, growing, or want to go to the next level, you can have these programs. So it's a joint piece, and we're really excited about it. A couple other things. I know Councilman Alton's mentioned this a couple of times about a community jobs board. We're going to launch one. Okay, we're going to do it this fall. It's going to be new. It's candidly a pilot project. We're not sure if it's really going to get traction, but it's a simple approach where City of Surprise businesses, again, only City of Surprise businesses, are able to put all of their job announcements on the city's website. People can go on and search it and find out what they need. This doesn't matter if it's a Real Glass or real small onesie, twosie type jobs, everybody's going to have the opportunity. We're still not certain that a lot of people look on a city's website for jobs, but if they do, let's give it a shot, okay? It's going to be linked with the chamber, so there'll be some partnership there going back and forth. But we're going to launch it, and we're doing it now in the fall to take advantage of the holiday hiring season. I think it's a good way to do it. We'll monitor the hits, we'll monitor where people land, and then I'll come back and report to you and say whether we think we should keep it loaded or not. It's really a matter of people going onto the site, clicking onto a database, filling it in, and sending it to us. It kind of does its own thing. So again, great partnership with communication, and Naima taking the lead on getting that started. And the last thing I want to talk about on collaboration is job fairs. We've had 3 of them over the past several months. We had Gestamp, Real Glass, and then the Chamber just did one for small business. So again, hitting the big guys, hitting the little guys. Whether it's good or bad, we had 500 people attend each one, which part of it tells you, boy, they're successful, people are coming out, but it also tells you, boy, we need to keep working hard on bringing jobs to the city because people need it. But in terms of collaboration, we're working very diligent with our partners, trying to maximize all of our resources, and we've been learning a lot and very thankful for that. And this is to Councilman Biondo's point, and he was dead on. Geez, Jeff, we have all these young families. We need more stuff to do. We're somewhat underserved. What are we doing about that? Well, we're very much engaged with the industry, not only outdoor opportunities, but also indoor opportunities. Candidly, we're talking to 4 different groups right now. The challenge isn't the lack of a market. There's no doubt about that. We have market for it. But what remains a challenge is really private financing. Okay, people are still having a tough time. The lenders still are very tight. They're not giving money away. The collateralization that's being required right now is just something I've never seen in my career. Okay, so if it's a business that's thin, they're going to have trouble. But we're going to keep trying and trying. We're reaching out to lenders and just saying, hey, soften it up, let's go, because here's the market. It doesn't matter if it's bowling or BMX or golfing or whatever. We think there's a strong market. Here's a demographic. Here's where we are. Please work with us. So we're going to keep pushing on that, but candidly, at the end of the day, it's really about trying to find some money for these folks. Okay. And then let me talk about council support, because over the past year, council has been wonderful about pushing us forward, making sure that we're doing everything we can to support the strategic plan, in particular economic development. Just a couple of things as reminders. You agreed to a low-interest lease for the Fab Lab back here for WestMec. WestMec has cleaned out the building. They're identifying equipment, and they hope to open that up within the next 90 days. Their challenge right now is that they're being cost-effective, and we appreciate it. They're trying to get equipment donated to them before they go out and buy it, and we appreciate that. The Community continues to do well. They just announced having Northern Arizona University there. And we've also been, as you all know, been very, very active trying to recruit a new 4-year university. We went out and did some branding and exposure at the College of Independent Presidents. We had the President's Roundtable, which I believe all of you attended. That was a great event. We learned so much on what we need to do to attract a university. And as you know, you've all been involved in some active conversation with a couple of prospects, so we appreciate that. What else can you do? What can we continue to do? Business recruitment, the key at the council level, in my opinion, is to continue to allow us, whether it's the city manager or myself, to offer performance-based incentive agreements. That really gets people's attention, okay? And I think council has been really smart in making them performance-based. They're not giveaways. It's not, here's $1 million, won't you come here? It's just, if you generate sales tax, if you generate jobs, if you generate property tax, we'll give some of that back to you, but you got to earn it first, and that gets people's attention. And then also the expedited review. I mentioned it earlier today about Gestamp and Rio and so on. If we continue to offer the expedited review, all these businesses, time is money. They have production schedules to meet. We have to keep providing that, and council's been good about that. Restructuring economic development and community development, putting us in one department to make it a seamless transition has helped us a lot. Been great partnership within the department there. Creation of the foreign trade zone by council. Council members were actively involved in the resolution and the testimony, and we appreciate that. That was great. And the other 3 things is really what I would call ambassadorship. When we have meet and greet meetings, just really on a cursory matter with prospects, you guys are always there, and we appreciate that support. Also, things like the baseball event, the tennis events, anything like that. When you guys are there, when we bring prospects in, nice and casual and relaxed, we can show off city facilities. That goes a long way. And then the other two things I would stress is just continue to be strategic in our planning. When prospects come in and they hear that council has a strategic plan, that they're focused, and they realize that higher education, economic development, and transportation at the top of that list, that gets their attention. They want elected officials, they want staff to be very focused and very strategic, so they appreciate that. So to continue to embrace strategic planning and move in that direction will help us a lot. And the last thing is infrastructure investment. When we talk to people, particularly in this part of the city of Surprise, and to see the investment that the city has made, whether it's the tennis facility or the stadium or the parks and so on, that gets their attention. They know that we're a progressive community willing to invest. If the city's willing to invest, then the private companies will invest as well. So those are the types of things that I think council can continue to do to support economic development. So in summary, over the past year, we were at 800,000 square feet of new construction, $150 million of capital investment, 500 construction jobs, and 555 permanent career positions. There's just a smattering of some of the successes. I can't stress enough, if you think about the economic conditions that we're in, and you look at those number of jobs, that's good stuff, guys. So again, we appreciate the support. So there's new projects all throughout the city. Here's the takeaway. Retail, as I mentioned, is slightly creeping up. Very optimistic about continued success in medical, manufacturing, and now for the first time I can say regional retail. So be happy to answer any questions that you have, and also have many staff members here as well.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate having this kind of presentation because it kind of brings us all up to date, and it helps our residents to understand how engaged staff is and how we work with staff as a council to promote economic opportunity within our city. And so I really appreciate it. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Mr. Woodard.
Jeff, just in the auto mall, is there anything going on there?
I'm glad you asked that. I kind of glossed over it.
You did.
We have the two dealerships right now. A third announced earlier this week. We met with them, and that's Nissan. So thank you for asking that question. It's good to see, and candidly, we're starting to tick up the level of cars there. And we're optimistic that once you have two dealers, then you have a third, it'll bring a fourth and a fifth, and you have a real auto mall. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Thanks for reminding me earlier.
You bet.
Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. Jeff, a lot of comments. I like this. I love that webpage. Good job, Ken and his group. Man. Because that's going to make, just what you said, a site locator, I'm sorry to say this, they're kind of lazy. So if you don't make it easy for them, they're going to go somewhere else. It's just the way it is. Anyway, I've got tremendous comments about your group from the Sante people. The mayor and I had a chance to tour that facility, which is an incredible facility.
It is.
They hadn't got all the furniture and fixture and equipment installed yet, but the building was done. And they were very complimentary of you and your staff. So I want to give you that feedback. Also, I was at the round table at the Texcelerator that Julie handled. Excellent. I mean, the energy in that place, when you get those guys together, man, they're just jamming, and with ideas and sharing things with each other, and it was cool to witness. And that UAT group.
Yep. Good stuff. Yeah.
That is good. I know it took them 28 years to get open in Tempe, but we told them, you can get open here in 6 months. It's not going to take you 28 years.
That's right.
Anyway, but I like the internship because I think that's going to add some value to that Texcelerator. So all these things are good. I mean, the car dealerships and your group is just doing a great job, Jeff, and I think just keep up the mo, and then let us know how we can help.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mr. Villanueva.
Yes. Thank you, Jeff, for the presentation. Very positive. The only question I have, at one time we were looking at the racetrack over there coming in. Is there anything on that?
Speed World?
Yeah, Speed World.
I can talk about that. Councilman Villanueva, we'd like to have Speed World in the city. Clearly, it would be good to have that revenue come in. But candidly, there's a great big piece of property between the city limits and Speed World. And as you recall, you have to be contiguous in order to annex it.
Okay.
So a little ways away yet.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Jeff, first I just want to comment on the website. I apologize if I look disengaged. I'm scavenging through this right now as you're talking. And just a great resource. And when you talk about site selector specific, there's a property locator there. So if they're looking for something commercial, retail, it's unbelievable. The detail that is in here, the strategic plans in there. So great job on that. And I just want to emphasize family-oriented entertainment. An entertainment district, if we could look at, it's a great time to plan. And I know the money's tight, but as we go into a prioritization discussion in terms of the strategic plan, and this is repeated over and over again, I know, and people are sick of hearing it, but I'm sick of hearing my kids saying they're bored and I don't want to drive to Glendale. So, anything along those lines that comes up, I really want to encourage staff to pursue those.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Biondo.
Thank you, Mayor. Jeff, this was very helpful. I, too, really appreciate it. Have you talked about the frequency with which you might want to do updates with council, or is it on an occasion-by-occasion basis?
It's on an occasion-by-occasion basis, and candidly, I mean, economic development is so cyclical. I mean, we can be very, very busy, and I could have plenty of things to talk about, or it could be really cold for a while. So I like to do them at least every 6 months, but the other thing I want to stress to you is at any time, if you want to just give me a call or talk to Mike Hoover or anybody and say what's going on, please feel free.
Great. Mr. Alton.
Yes, thank you. Jeff, the job board, it's so dear to my heart because we tried it before with, I believe it was jobbing.com. One concern that I have is that we're posting the jobs through the city. Actually, the job employers are posting the jobs through the city. And then we're retrieving the information. That people fill out a form online and send it to us. I don't know if we need to be in that and that end of it, because then all those resumes or all those applications or all that information is then going to be open for public view.
Yeah, let me clarify. I apologize. I went through that quickly. All we're really doing is having a form available online for the businesses to fill out, to have the announcement.
Right.
But when people send in their resumes or credentials, it's not to the city, it's right to that business.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there then any way to have, when we have a business post, that we can ask them to give us feedback?
Absolutely, we can.
Because that's going to really be very, very important as to seeing. And then a link from the chamber to this city site, as well as back?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yep. So actually, all they have to be is residents of City of Surprise.
That's correct.
And the businesses have to be in Surprise.
That's correct.
Great.
Yeah, and that's why it was important for it to be on the city website, because if we put it someplace else, we're going to get jobs from different communities. It needs to be surprise-centric. I've heard that from council time and time again. We're getting all these new job opportunities, Rio, so on and so forth, but let's make sure city people get them, City of Surprise residents get them.
Well, we have 40 to 60,000 people leave our community every day to go to work.
Absolutely.
So if there is a way in which we could channel that activity and have them drive 2 miles to work, that would be outstanding. Yeah. Thank you very much. Good presentation.
Thank you.
Well, once again, thank you for the presentation. I think you've heard from all of us. Did you have another comment?
The only thing I think it's very incumbent upon me to say that. I always get to give the good news, but keep in mind it's clearly not just me and not even the division. I've got really good people to work with. Mike Hoover, Julie Neal, Al Giangelis, Naima Pierce work diligently. We're very well staffed right now. I want to stress that to you. But the other thing is whether the city attorney's office, Michael Bay, when we do a development agreement, boom, boom. Engineering, Bob Beckley's staff, always working hard. Infrastructure, big piece of this. For some of the city manager's office and communications, it's very much a team effort, and I feel important to stress that to you, because when it's an interdepartmental effort like this and the results are economic development, it's never just one division all across the city. So I just want to stress that and say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think council is even more so today understanding that it is a team effort, and we want to be part of that team as well, and to work with all departments in whatever way we can to create a positive outcome for our residents. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
That concludes the presentation on number 2. We'll go to call to the public. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on any agendized item?
I don't have any forms, Mayor.
Is there anybody that would like to step forward to speak on any agendized item? Seeing no one, I close the call to the public, and this meeting is adjourned.